Hello, good evening. I just want to first kind of do an introductory, kind of about myself, who I am, um, where I come from, and things like that. So that you can kind of get to know me as a person versus just me just shooting out information about myself. I know that initially it's going to be mostly family members and friends that are going to be taking the time out to look at these videos and pull apart things that they could possibly use in their life, or to be able to share with other family members and friends that may possibly be going through something similar. Hopefully I can offer more um, as far as life lessons and things of that nature, more than just focusing on the diagnosis of cancer. um, Having strength and going through something of this magnitude, it has to come from a strength within that a lot of people don't have. And I have empathy for those who lack that strength that they may need to be able to push through something like this. I have my days, and basically, I kind of want to just get into today mostly just about who I am, and kind of let you know where what's happened with me in the last month, because this kind of stuff it just kind of showed its face October 27th of 2023. Um, my name is LaShawn Moling. I am from the Tampa Bay area, born and raised. Just a bit of history about me and who I am and what I do. I am the very proud mother of two wonderful young ladies, Shamari Walton and Ashanti Flanoy. Shamari is an attorney, and Ashanti is an RN. I'm also the owner of Turnkey General Contracting, ASAP Auto Shipping, About That Time Getaways, and alongside my partner, Ida Campbell, together we own and operate Priority Title Florida. I decided to document my second breast cancer journey to try to educate and to facilitate awareness on this disease. I am by no means an expert, but I am an example, a real person. I think people connect and relate when there is an actual person sharing the experience, just not an article or something that doesn't give you a touch or a feel of the actual person who's experiencing, in this case, the cancer. I was diagnosed with stage 2 estrogen and progesterone positive breast cancer back September 18, 2013. I had lumpectomy in my left breast on September 30th, 2013, and I started chemo in November of 2013, followed by a series of radiation treatments. I have since then been in remission. More talks on that later, and how it kind of coincides or doesn't coincide. I mean, at this point they're saying this is a new cancer. The cancer did not come back. That this would have happened at this age and this gesture in my life. If I hadn't had that, it would have come at this time. So on October 27th, 2023, I decided to basically go for my annual mammogram. I usually go in November, but I started to go in October because of the breast cancer awareness month. So I said I was going to kind of start doing a lot of my well woman exams and things of that nature toward the end of the year. When I went to the mammogram, it was just how ironic. She went to press down on my breast to put it in a little smashy thing, and I said, ouch. And she was like, oh, are you talking about this right here? And she patted on. I was like, yeah. And she's like, well, how long has that been like that? And I'm like, well I kind of felt something a couple days earlier. Thought I slept wrong, woke up, and I was like, shoot, this, it's hurting, whatever. But I didn't think anything of it. But either way, I just decided I would, bring it up at the mammogram. But I forgot because it wasn't hurting until she touched it. And I really thought it was honestly a part of my menstrual cycle related, because I'm premenopausal, and cycles had been off, and they would come on for a couple days, then they would come right back on, and things like that. So I thought maybe this was hormonal. why my breasts were tender. Um, the mammogram was followed up with an ultrasound same day, and I knew something was not right when that radiologist came into the room to talk to me. I've never had a radiologist come in and ask me, did I have any questions? They were just, saying it was suspicious. So meanwhile, I'm looking through, while I'm waiting before he came in, I'm looking at, okay, a cyst, and just looking at all these pictures to trying to figure out what else could it be other than cancer, right? So, they're saying only 30 or 40% of, lumps and tumors are cancer. So I was like, oh, well, shoot, I've been pretty lucky all my life. This isn't what that is, right? But he just was adamant. It's not a cyst. It's suspicious. Is all he would say. And I knew then that I probably had another breast cancer, or the same one had come back. So he walked out, and then the ultrasound tech, she saw me. I was basically very upset. I think that was the first time I had cried, and she embraced me, and she tried to reassure me that, basically you just got to wait until you get the biopsy, that most of these things are just scares. So I went away from there, but I know my body, and I don't have lumpy breasts. I don't have fibrocystic breasts, lumpy breasts like some women, you're saying, oh, they have that all the time. I don't have that. My breasts are very dense, and typically I don't, I can't even relate to having, something foreign in my body. So they ordered the biopsies, and they scheduled it for November 7th, and the earliest appointment they had was the 6th. So I decided to go on the 7th because I would just be returning. I turned 50 on November 5th, and me and a group of my, family and some of my best friends, we all went over to Jamaica for a celebration. It was 23 of us. I mean, we had a great time. I pushed through, some of the anxiety that I was having prior to going, and it just was very overwhelming. But we made the best of it. They made me feel like, oh, whatever. It was just a great time. And I came back and went to the hospital on the 7th, and when I got in, the doctors, I have to respect their honesty and their straightforwardness with you, because sometimes we want people to skate around the truth, and I'm a straight shooter, and I really appreciate Dr. Monroe for telling me. He says, basically, I'm very sure that this is a cancer. And he said, I'm going to do the biopsy. I'm going to pull some samples, but the pathology report will be the final say. But he said, I've seen this, and he said, it looks just like it. So I said, okay. At that moment, without the pathology report, I am going to be fighting. This is something that I've done before, and I've helped many women over the years. And I'll talk to you more about that later on, how when you don't share, sometimes there are people who don't have anybody to go to and to talk to. But once you put your story out there, the overwhelming amount of women who were struggling and going through these treatments, and my talks with them on the backside that I didn't have when I went through my breast cancer journey. The one lady that I did reach out to right before my diagnosis, she ended up passing away while I was going through my treatment. And I had a best friend, and she had cancer maybe about 5 years before me, but she couldn't remember any of the pertinent details. She said it was just a blur to her. So, she wasn't much help as far as having, a go-to person to kind of run through the different things that had happened during that cancer journey with her. So this time, fast forward to the biopsy coming back. So I can tell you right now, I didn't get notified by the doctor. When I left from the biopsy, they told me that the nurse was going to call me on that Wednesday to check on me. She did not. That Thursday, my personal assistant came over to help out with some construction chores that we do weekly. And I was sitting there, I was like, God, I haven't heard from the doctor. And I was like, hey, I am. I have a login to the portal to the hospital. I'm just going to log in. And just like I felt, I logged in, and the pathology report was there, and it had been there since 9 o'clock that morning. It was 2:28. So at that moment, I looked at her, and I'm like, it was like open up, like what is going to happen to me. I was afraid to open it, but at the same time, whatever it is, it was going to be that, and I needed to um, not wait until they called me and have that anxiety or let anybody else look at it. I wanted to see it for myself. So she told me that she wasn't good with uh, diagnosis like that, but then she did say that she was good with consoling, and if I needed her at that moment, she would be, very supportive of me. So of course I hit the button, and just like the doctor had said, and the radiologist's body language had told me it was cancer. And it looks like, from what they were measuring on the ultrasound, it was 1.7 one way, 1.5 centimeters, and they had put on that 2.3. So now which made it a stage 2. Okay, so now I'm afraid, like I'm getting scared, like, okay, so this thing is growing. Like, is it growing, or is it swollen from the biopsy? All this stuff is going through my head. So I immediately pick up the phone. I call the surgeon, because during the biopsy, the doctor had recommended that no matter what it is, benign or malignant, it needs to come out. So I decided at that very moment I was going to call the surgeon, and the lady, her name was Amy, and she was like, how can I help you? I said, I need to see the surgeon. And she's like, oh, did they call you with your results? I said, no, ma'am. I looked at the report, and we bust out laughing. I said, well, because I'm kind of nosy, so I didn't want to wait for somebody to tell me bad news. I wanted to know as soon as possible, so that I can be an advocate for myself and jump right into treatment and do what I needed to do to survive this thing. So she made an appointment for me, which would have been the following Thursday. So I did that, and then she says, I heard her in her voice. She's like, yeah, the hospital is going to call you. So she was feeling a little, it's not right that they had not called me. So she was empathizing with me when she said that, and I felt that from her, and that was fine. And about 10 minutes later, of course, she probably called and had a talking to with the nurse navigator at the hospital, and then of course she called, and then she asked me, how was I doing? I'm like, I'm fine. At this point, we got to do what we have to do. And then she says, well, did they mention anything about an MRI? And I told her no. And then she went ahead and we scheduled the MRI for the Monday prior to me going to the doctor on the next Thursday. The next day was an issue with insurance. They don't have authorization, so I need to cancel my appointment. And I told the lady, I said, no, we're not canceling the appointment. We're going to find a way to get the authorization today. She says it's not going to happen. It never happens. She's been doing this how many every year she's been doing it, and it has never happened. And she needs it to be authorized by 11:30, or she's going to have to cancel the appointment. So I told her, give me a few minutes. I got on the line with my insurance company. They have awesome support. So don't let your insurance benefits, they have perks. They have care coordinators. They have nurses that call and check on you, and they talk to you, and you have a host, your insurance has a host of valuable people that can help you get through this process. And I can tell you that now, just another week into this, they have been such a great help to me. So I call over to the nurse navigator, and she's calling over to the insurance company. They're saying, oh, the hospital hasn't sent this. We can't do the MRI. We, approve it because we need certain information from the hospital. So I called the hospital back. This went on all day long, and until 11:45, and I got a message from her, and she was stating that I needed to reschedule my appointment, and that I also needed to reschedule with my surgeon because they need the MRI so that they can, assess, what's going on. So, of course, I tell her, okay, I'm just like totally exhausted at this point. So she transfers me to one of the scheduling agents, and he comes on the line and he says, "Caller, are you there?" And I'm like, "Oh yes, I'm here." And then he says to me, "Okay, so you want to, basically reschedule your appointment?" And I was like, "No, I don't want to reschedule my appointment. I think we have time to get this thing authorized." And he says, "Well, she said that you want to reschedule your appointment." I said, "No, she wants to reschedule my appointment. I want to work with my insurance company to get the authorization today," which was a Friday, and the appointment wasn't till Monday. He said, "Well, you just called me back." And I said, "Well, what time do you close?" And he said, 6 o'clock. And I'm like, "Okay, fine, great, fine and dandy. I'll just call you back around 5." So I called over to the surgeon's office and I told them what the young lady in the authorization department had mentioned to me, and that I needed to cancel my appointment with them as well. And she says, "No, you do not need that MRI before you see us. Do not cancel any appointment with us, period. Do not cancel any appointment. The optimal thing is for us to have the MRI prior to you coming in, because then we'll have more information on your care. But we were going to order it anyway once you got here. So do not cancel anything with us. And give me the person that told you that phone number. I want to call because I want to tell them what they need to do to get that authorization today." So I'm like, "Oh, okay, I got another advocate here." So I give her the information. They call. Meanwhile, the insurance company calls me back. It's about 12 something. They said, "Yeah, we didn't meet the 11 o'clock deadline like they said, but we got all the information from the hospital, and we walked everything down to the nurse's station that's going to look over everything to make sure everything's medically necessary, and we are going to have an authorization to you today." And I told her, "Great, that's great news, because I don't want to postpone any appointments. I want to be able to do what I need to do to make sure that I'm not, basically dropping the ball on my own care." So at that moment, probably about an hour later, I got a call from a supervisor from the authorization department. And he says to me, "Yeah, we need to get you rescheduled." And I'm like saying to myself, "Oh, well, if you need to reschedule me, why isn't anybody just rescheduling me? And how does he know that I didn't reschedule? Like, is this appointment, like, are they trying to slot this appointment for somebody else?" It just made me feel like they just were trying to bump me to get someone else into that time slot. I don't know if that's the case. Their behavior was just a little odd and off to me. So either way, I told him, that we were waiting on the authorization for the insurance company. He says, "No, you're not going to get that. We got to cut off time at 2 o'clock. Ooh, 2 o'clock? The lady earlier told me 11:30. Now he's telling me 2 o'clock. I don't like the inconsistent, bad information. Doesn't make me feel, important when people are just telling you whatever they need to tell you to, push their narrative. So either way, I told them, "Hey, you told me 2 o'clock is 1:17. Give me a few minutes. I'm going to call back." They said it will be done in a couple hours, and we're right up on that time now. So I called the insurance company back, and they put me on hold. They did some running around, and my care coordinator. And at 2:05, she comes back to the phone and says, "We got your approval. We're faxing it over to the hospital now." Now, let me back up a little bit, because I got to tell you about the supervisor who told me that I would never get that authorization in one day, because this insurance company is always 3 to 5 days. And I asked him, how was he so sure? And he told me he had been there for 20 years. And that's the, basically past practices. This is what he knows about this insurance company. So when I got the news that I had gotten approval in one day, not even 24 hours, she submitted that stuff 8 o'clock that morning, and at 2:15 I had an approval. I was floored. I was happy, but at the same time a bit angry, because I felt like they were pushing me away from me being healthy, me getting in front of my health. They were pushing me away from it, and I didn't appreciate that at all. But hey, things happen for a reason. I'm very persistent. I don't take no for an answer for anyone, from anybody. One door closes, I go and knock on another one. I keep going. I'm going to keep pushing to make sure that I am getting the best care. And that goes from this to any and every other thing that I experience in my life. So after I hung up with them, I called the young lady back in the authorization department, and she told me that basically, she hadn't got the approval yet. And I said to her that they said that it was approved and they were going to be faxing it over. So she said, well, she hadn't gotten it yet. What time did they send it? And I can hear her shuffling around, like maybe she's checking her emails and everything. And then she says, oh, that's my boss calling. I'll call you right back. So she hangs up with me. And at that moment, I felt that, I had left a message with the boss that said that it could not happen in 20 years, was calling her to tell her that I had left a message with him saying that the approval went through. And at that moment, she called me back and says, well, I don't see the approval, but if you said you have the approval, can you call and get the authorization code? And I told her at that moment, yes. She says, because when they call, they have to sit on hold for, 30, 40 minutes. And I said, oh, that's the problem. They don't have the time to follow up with the insurance companies, and they don't want to wait on hold times and all that kind of stuff. So basically, they just wait till it organically happens, like it would have probably happened on its own in 3 to 5 days. But I didn't want to wait 3 to 5 days. Okay. The appointment, so I went ahead and I got the authorization approved. I went Monday, had my MRI, and I'll tell you, I have a thing with going in closed spaces. I don't think I'm claustrophobic, but that machine making all that noise and having to lay in one position for 20, 30, 40 minutes is just a bit much for me. And so we had a talking to in there, and they put me in the machine. I had them bring me back out. We had to have another talking to. That's a whole another video. But either way, the MRI went fine, and I go to the surgeon, and I meet him. Awesome surgeon, Dr. Gabordi. He said to me that I caught it in time. That's what they're saying. Until we get this thing out of me, I'm just not taking anybody's word for anything. But he says it's just a stage 2. He felt my lymph nodes. He said there was nothing there. They didn't see anything on the MRI or anything like that. So, but he did recommend a different treatment for me this time because of the triple negative diagnosis. He advised me that he wanted me to do chemo first. And I had spoken to my oncologist prior to when I first got the mammogram back, and he said, well, if you do a double mastectomy, you might not even need me. But this particular surgeon wanted to make sure that none of what's shown on the MRI was what it was, that they are not going to miss some small cell that they didn't pick up, and that he starts to cut, and he gets in there and gets surprises. So he would rather shrink the tumor with the chemotherapy. So that's where we are at this point. I went on the 21st, and I met with Dr. Wright, my oncologist, and he gave me my proposed treatment plan, which I told you in an earlier video, that is going to be 16 chemo treatments, one for 12 weeks, once a week, and then I'll go to every 3 weeks for 4 additional treatments on the back end for 2 different kind of other chemos, treatments, medications, and we'll talk about that. I'll kind of go over the medicines and stuff like that on another video. I kind of just want to kind of get you guys caught up to speed for where I am today. The last couple of days, I've been very overwhelmed because I have a PET scan scheduled for tomorrow, and I had not gotten the authorization from the insurance company to do the PET scan. And the PET scan basically will scan my whole body, and any cancer cells will glow, is what they're anticipating. If there's any cancer anywhere else in my body, if it's metastasized, or if they need to change my treatment based on what they find tomorrow. So I couldn't even think about the test, because between yesterday and today, I've been going back and forth with trying to get the insurance company to help me get in contact with the oncologist office, because they weren't sending the authorization, because they were saying they didn't have something from the doctor, and it was just all this red tape. It was just driving me nuts. I mean, I spent probably 8 hours yesterday, and today another 6 hours too. I finally got the authorization today, and I'm really exhausted. And I can tell you, I won't be posting every day, but I will post frequently to make sure that I'm not forgetting anything, and that anybody can benefit from. So if you have any questions or anything, please don't hesitate to ask questions. These videos are going to be all pre-recorded. They're not going to be live. So if you comment at the bottom, I'll try to answer the questions that I can for what I know. Most of the footage is going to be a recap from a prior day. If I would have posted yesterday, I would have been cussing on this video. I've learned not to react on emotion and to take my time in processing my feelings. Here are a few takeaways from my conversations with the insurance companies and the doctor's offices along with their staff. Make sure you ask questions, not just about your meds and your treatment. You need to also ask about your insurance, about authorizations, the need for them, and things that don't need them, the turnaround times of those authorizations, how orders are handled, etc. Is the doctor sending the orders directly, or does it go to a central scheduling location? There's a lot of red tape when you have a cancer diagnosis. And things that, in my honest opinion, that should already be standard care are most certainly not. When someone says, hey, you have cancer, there should be a laundry list of pre-approved things that automatically go along with that diagnosis. But I can tell you it is not. So I'm going to kind of, leave you guys with that for today. PET scan tomorrow. I'm on a high protein diet today, eggs, meat, cheese, and I want some coffee, but I can't have any. So I'm probably going to be going to bed early tonight, but I just kind of wanted to put an introductory video out here. I know we're probably like 30 minutes now, and it's a lot of information, and hopefully going forward, these videos will be, small little, snippets of information, snippets, and not such a long video, kind of inundating you with a whole bunch of information. But I kind of want to catch you guys. Fast forward to today. Now everybody's current, and I got a lot of my friends texting and calling, and it's very exhausting to have to keep explaining and telling this story over and over and over again. So hopefully they are able to look at this video and kind of know that I'm in good spirits. Basically, I'm a very strong individual, and I feel like I'm going to be just fine, but I have to go through this process. So I will be on video, and I will probably be bald headed, and I probably have no eyebrows, but it's going to be all okay because this happened before and everything came back, and there were no problems with that. This is chemo is supposed to add some more years onto my life. So I just want everybody to keep me lifted up in your prayers, and you guys have a good night, and I'll see you guys later. Bye.